Hello. So in a previous video, I had looked at publishing data sources separate to publishing workbooks and what that would look like. So I want to just cover off one more topic on this because it is important distinction, not just in terms of being able to achieve the objectives we set out, which were for better governance, consistent analysis, being able to reuse the same data source, and also web edit. But there is also another advantage, and that's in terms of being able to manage the data sources, and especially when that comes to extracts. So I used a live connection in the previous video, but I'm going to transfer to an extract and again just show you the difference this can make. So we're going to create an extract. I could put that on the desktop for now and click save. So this creates an extract, and again there's loads of documentation around the benefits of an extract, mostly around performance, but there are again other things involved. So we've got an extract, and again what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish the workbook. So I'm connected to essentially a local data source now, a copy or an extract of the data. And what I want to do is publish this dashboard. So I'm going to go server, publish workbook. So again, we're back to this idea of it's going to be an embedded data source. Select my project. I can now choose a refresh schedule, which is great. So what I can say is I want this to refresh, let's say daily at 7 a.m. So I want my data to remain fresh, which is super. Embedded, I've allowed refresh access, so I'm happy with that. And now I click publish. So again, on the face of it, that works absolutely fine. Okay. I can see my data source. I can apply, people can log in and they're able to use the filters. And I can even see the extract refresh schedule that's set up. The problem is that refresh schedule exists within that workbook. So if I have 10 or 15 or 20 workbooks, all essentially using the same data source, and they're all on similar schedules, I'm asking the server to do a lot of what's essentially the same work. It's refreshing it in this workbook. It might be refreshing it in 10 or 12 other workbooks at a slightly different time. So each of those refresh schedules asks Tableau server to go off, do some work, refresh the data and bring it in. And eventually over time, as you build up your Tableau server, that can start to eat into resources and performance. So this is another area where publishing the data source separately works much better. Again, I can go server, publish the data source. We'll call this extract just to separate it from the other one we made. Again, I'll set the same schedule. I've allowed refresh access, so I'm happy with that, and I can click publish. The big difference here now is that I only have one schedule to manage. That data source is being refreshed at 7 a.m. So I don't have workbooks to manage, I just have this data source to manage. If I go back to the workbook side of things, where the data source is embedded, somebody could be refreshing the data at 7 a.m. Somebody else might be refreshing the data at 11 a.m. If you have a meeting in between those two times, it's not unlikely that you end up with different versions of what should be the same data. So as well as being able to achieve the 4 objectives I outlined here, the additional one is it makes it much easier to manage the data sources. One data source, one refresh schedule, multiple workbooks using that. So that's just like a part 2 to the first section, obviously. And again, it shows the advantages of being able to publish a data source separately.